Hey guys! So once you determine that something is a function by using the vertical line test, then you can actually place those graphs into different function families. Now, just like you and I have family, graphs also have family. And like you and your parents or you and another family member have similar characteristics. Maybe you have the same eye color, the same hair color, maybe you're similar in height. These graphs also have similarities. Now, that's not to say that they can't be a little bit different, because I know that I don't look exactly like my mom or my dad, just like you don't look exactly like all of your family members. But we can see some of those similarities. It's just not exactly the same. So when we go through these graphs and we're trying to place them in families, you're looking for the similarities. Okay, so I'm going to go through all 6 function families that you need to know. Let's start with the basics. Okay, the first 2 function families are linear and quadratic. Okay, and it might benefit you right now to take out a piece of paper and just really quick sketch these so you have some sort of notes for this, because otherwise it's a lot to remember. Okay, so linear, kind of like it's spelled, is just a straight line. So this is like what we call a parent function. This is like the original linear function. Just like your parent came before you, this is the original, the OG linear graph. Okay, but you could also have a linear function in the same family that maybe it's a straight line still, but maybe it's just moved up a little bit. Okay? Or you might have another function or another graph in this function family that is still a straight line, but maybe it's facing the other way. Maybe it's doing something like this. Now all 3 lines, these are not the exact same, but they do have that common similarity of being straight lines. So these are all in the linear function family. Let's move on to quadratic. These are what we looked at a lot last unit. Remember, a quadratic is a smile or a frown. So here we have our parent function of a quadratic. That's like the original parent function here. But we could change this a little bit and still be part of the quadratic family. So maybe we make our smile a little wider here. It's not exactly the same, but it still has that smile shape, which allows it to be in the quadratic family. Or maybe we flip it upside down and make it really skinny. Okay, not exactly the same, but close enough to be grouped into the quadratic family. Okay, so linear and quadratic are our first 2. Let's look at the next 2. Here we go. We have exponential and absolute value. So the exponential family has exponential growth. That means that it's increasing rapidly. So here we start pretty flat, and then we get this kind of steep hill going up pretty quickly. So in this family, we might shift this down and, maybe we go up faster. Okay? Or maybe we shift it up and go up just a little bit slower. It's still going up on that hill. So that's what makes it part of the exponential family. Right? Let's look at absolute value. This one I like because it's probably one of the easier ones to remember, because it always looks like a V, and absolute value has a V in it. Okay, so it will have that sharp turn just like a V does. And as I said before, it could change a little bit. So maybe, kind of similar to our quadratic, maybe we stretch this out a little bit. Okay, it's not exactly the same, but we can still see that V shape. Maybe we move this V over here and make it skinny. Maybe we move it down here and flip it around. Either way, we're looking for that sharp V shape, that really sharp corner. That tells us that it is part of the absolute value family. So far we've done linear, quadratic, exponential, absolute value. We have two more. We have rational and radical. And these are two very different graphs, but their names are similar. So a lot of times people get these confused. Okay, so I would definitely, if you're writing this down, which you should be, I would definitely make sure that you know the difference between these two that start with the R. So rational is kind of a cool one. This is one that looks like there are two graphs actually. Okay, but we kind of see this separation. So if you see something with those two separate curves, we're looking at a rational function in the rational function family. Okay, so maybe we move it up here, do something like this. Okay, we would still have two separate curves, making it part of that rational function family. And then radical, a lot of times people either get radical confused with rational or with exponential. Radical has, what's cool about this one is that it sort of has this like starting point. So it starts somewhere specifically and it doesn't have two arrows, it only has one. And we're gonna draw it that one way and it kind of has this like hill shape. So I could have a radical function, look, I just did it. I could have a radical function that looks like this. Or maybe I have a radical function that looks like this. All still part of that radical family because we have that starting point and extending one way, looking kind of over that hill. Okay, so in your practice, you're going to have to group these into those 6 function families. Make sure you've written them down and you've studied them so you know them. Good luck!